This hour by Frederick Remington, fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. Exclusive, no refrigeration, 10-year extended shelf life bacon. The thickest, meatiest center-cut bacon in the industry at fullycookedbacon.com.
The stocks discussed on Wall Street Raw are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering on acting on information, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice.
What kingdom has sent you?
The kingdom of the Most High.
Nothing you have ever experienced can prepare you for the unbridled carnage you're about to witness. Super Bowl, the World Series, they don't know what pressure is. In this building, it's either kill or be killed. You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute, you're up $500,000 in soybeans, and the next, boom, your kids don't go to college and they've repossessed your Bentley. Are you with me?
The Genesis Communication Network is proud to bring you Wall Street Raw with nationally recognized market timer and previous Wall Street Week elf, Mark Leibovit, welcoming you on board his financial time machine. And here is the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's Mark Leibovit, and welcome to Wall Street Raw on this Saturday, October 14th. No other day like it, and we certainly appreciate you tuning in on the Saturday morning and joining us. We try to line up a very interesting list of guests for you every week. SINCLAIR will be joining us on the program, along with Don VIALOX and Henry Weingarten during the program as well. We're going to have Kyle Dennis join us in just a moment. He was kind enough to join us on a Saturday morning live. And meanwhile, the Dow Industrials, as you know, continue to move higher along with the other major indices, though we did see the Russell 2000 underperform a little bit the past few sessions. But the Dow Industrials hit a new record high and then faded into the close on Friday. For the week, the Dow was up 0.4%. S&P was up 0.2%, pushing the Dow and S&P to the fifth straight week of gains. The NASDAQ rose 0.2% for the week, registering a third week of gains. The bulls themselves are frustrated because we seem to be breaking rules to the upside, and many investors, according to some of the Bloomberg statistics I'm reading, are actually selling out of the market, lightening up, getting out of this market, and then watching it still go higher and higher. So it's not unprecedented. We've seen this happen before. But until there's a top, you don't know where that top is coming in. And we're certainly overbought enough and due for a correction, but it could come months later than people expect. So that's the problem of not being long-term invested, at least for a key portion of your portfolio. It seems like those that just stuck with the indexes in recent years did better than the money managers, and it's frustrating, I guess, for the money managers when that happens. Meanwhile, let's jump over to our first very special guest, Kyle Dennis, this morning, since, again, he was kind enough to tune in. He's the chief biotech strategist for RagingBull.com, and he's an equities trader focused on uncovering undervalued stocks in the market. And he researches stocks which are under the radar, and he looks for supporting data about the stocks that could foretell future events. I know he is very tied into upcoming news stories for the biotechs. Good morning, Kyle. Thank you for joining us. Kyle?
Oh, Mark, are you there?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I wanted to bring to your listeners' attention a new stock that I'm taking a look at called Oncosec Medical. The symbol there is ONCS. It's a little small company, and they have a couple of data events coming up on November the 8th to the 12th at the SICC meeting, which is a cancer meeting. And they just recently announced that, so I'm tracking that stock there. And they also have an updated call on October the 19th coming up, which is an update of a previous data they released. In between that time, a little risk factor, though, is that they'll have an earnings call coming up as well. So that is a bit of a risk factor that I like to avoid. Full disclosure, I do own 5,000 shares of it at the current price of about $128. I think that it has great potential to get up near $2 per share. These smaller cap, small price stocks have been doing very, very well recently in these market conditions. Things have been really hot, and the biotech index, even though it's been pulling back slightly over the last couple of weeks, have been, all these smaller cap stocks have been doing very, very well as well. So I think that's going to continue here into this event where they'll be releasing this important data come November the 8th.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart on this thing, Kyle. I mean, this was a $18 stock back in 2014, so at $1.30, it seems to look awfully cheap to me.
Yeah, and it's funny. People that follow the biotech industry know this guy, Adam Fernstein. He is a really well-respected writer he works for Stat News now, but he's usually negative on stocks, especially these small-cap cancer stocks, and he actually wrote positively about this one recently. So I take that as a positive as well, because he's a very skeptical guy, and to see that positive news about it, I think this thing really has a great chance to get up to $2 a share or higher. And hopefully some of your listeners that like these smaller cap, small price names will take a look at this one.
Great for the idea. I know last week we touched on Calithera as one of your ideas, CALA, so that's still on your buy list as well, right?
Yes, it is, and I think it's been performing there pretty well since we last talked about it, and they'll be still at that conference as well coming up November the 11th to announce some of their cancer data as well.
Yeah, what's so great about what Kyle does, folks, is he ties in technicals along with these important events ahead for the company. So it's sort of an very interesting approach, and we really appreciate hearing about that, particularly in the biotech sector. Kyle, thank you again for squeezing us in here, and we'll have Kyle back next week. We're talking to Kyle Dennis from RagingBull.com. Have a great weekend, Kyle. Thanks for the ideas.
You too. Thank you, Mark.
Well, very interesting market here, because you're seeing a lot of the speculative names like the ones that we just talked about or Kyle just talked about, starting to gain some favor. And usually when the real low price speculative names start to take off, that's usually a sign that we're getting a little too frothy in the move. But I'm not here to tell you that it's over. It could end this coming Monday. We could have a big shakeout, or it could stretch into the new year. All we know is we have a tax reform situation coming up and potential repatriation of funds. And valuations, may not be what people historically think they could be. So a lot of people talk about PE ratios, but we did hear a statistic recently that the highest PE ratios actually occurred at the bottom in 2009, not at the top. So it depends where prices are for the stocks at the time, and it's a real interesting phenomenon. In other markets, gold starting to creep back up here a little bit, got over 1,300. I was looking for a little bit of a pullback. We got it down into the mid 1,200 range. Emerging markets, looking at the EEM, which is the ETF for emerging markets, started to break out a little bit this week. Of course, it's been in an up move for, a few months anyway, but continued strength there. Copper being strong is a good coincident indicator. We have a couple names on our recommended list at vrtrader.com talking about copper. So, an interesting week there. And we also had another interesting week with regard to the cryptocurrencies, in particular Bitcoin, which, we laugh about this a little bit, but remember we talked about it last week. Jamie Dimon over at JP Morgan just says or implied that it was a fraud, and then we find out that JP Morgan was buying Bitcoin on the sell-off. Meanwhile, Bitcoin hit a new record high on Friday, $5,693 a coin, just when everybody thought it was going to go to hell. It topped out September 1st at $4,935, dropped all the way to $2,951, so about a $200 drop, and now it's just struggled back up into new high ground. So I don't have a target for you, but we've been trading the Bitcoin Investment Trust at our newsletter. That's GBTC. We've talked about that almost ad nauseum on the show as a way to participate. So we're always trying to keep our foot in the door and what's moving in the market, folks. Don't touch your dial. We'll be back after the break with our good friends Don Bialoux and Henry Weingarten.
You're listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to wallstreetradio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
an emergency, you need a fire now. But what if the wood is wet? No problem for InstaFire. Our non-toxic fire starter packs lights wet wood, floats, and can even burn on water or in any weather. Sustains winds up to 30 miles per hour, and each pouch weighs only 1.75 ounces. Need an emergency or camp stove? Get the InstaFire Inferno stove that boils 20 ounces of water in under 3 minutes with controllable heat and temps from 425 to 1500 degrees. Free shipping. Go to instafire.com and use discount code RADIO30 up to 3 times for 30% off your order. InstaFire. Fire in an instant.
Attention type 2 diabetics. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invocomet, or Invocomet XR or other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA has warned that Invokana, Invocomet, or Invocomet XR and other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes cause an increased role in amputations of the toes, feet, and legs. If you or a loved one has taken Invokana, Invocomet, or Invocomet XR or other inhibitors for type 2 diabetes and suffered amputation of the toes, feet, or legs, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-475-7607. That's 800-475-7607. Again, 800-475-7607. Call now. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. www.injuryhelpdesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Concur does what might seem impossible for your business. It makes employees happy and finance happy. How? Well, employees love automated expense reports and invoices they can submit and approve from anywhere. And finance loves that they have full visibility into employee spend. Plus, Concur integrates with leading finance systems. Concur makes the process better for everyone. Concur. Expense, travel, invoice. Learn more at concur.com.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Radio remains the most intimate of all forms of media. At home, at work, in the car, on smartphones. Over 90% of consumers still listen to radio every week. That makes choosing radio as a place to advertise your business one of the best decisions you can make. Email advertise@gcnlive.com and partner up with an experienced GCN representative. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the Internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Think big. Think positive. Never show any sign of weakness. Always go for the throat. Buy low, sell high. Fear, that's the other guy's problem.
Welcome back to the Wall Street Raw Radio Show with Mark Leibovit, your time machine for the financial markets. Want to know more? Go to wallstreetrawradio.com. Now, here's the elf himself, Mark Leibovit.
Welcome back, my good friend and always special guest, Don VIALOX from the Canadian Society of Technical Analysts. He's a chartered market technician. Only about 48 years experience in the investment industry, but he was also an advisor to the Horizon Seasonal Rotation ETF, between 2009 and 2015. And he also authors the two blogs, the timingthemarket.ca and equityclock.com, which are great blogs. Thank you, Don, for joining us again on this Saturday morning.
Thanks for having me back, Mark.
Well, we were just talking off air. Maybe we should start off with the hot subject, because I've been, recommending it and trading a little bit myself. The base metal stocks are showing great positive action, but palladium has been on a tear.
Yeah, palladium prices are moving thanks to Chinese demand. And on Friday, the palladium ETN, that the symbol is PALL, broke to an all-time high, so very, very strong.
Is there some fundamental reason besides the automobile industry that is driving that, or what do you think?
Well, it has a lot to do with the automobile industry, but one of the things is the demand for cars in China is continuing to grow very rapidly, and that's positive for both palladium and for platinum. That's helping to push palladium prices nicely higher.
So the China stocks are catching attention for seasonality investors. Is this a strong season for China?
It's recently come up. We saw a statement from China yesterday that the demand for crude oil has reached the second highest level in history. So that's just part of what's happening over in China. It's not just crude oil, but it's also the commodities in general. It's very, very strong demand for commodities.
And fertilizer stocks have also been strong too, huh?
Well, the key is that China is the biggest buyer of fertilizer in the world, and fertilizer stocks have started to show very strong seasonality. Now, it is the season for strength in the fertilizer sector right through to the end of the year. On Friday, CF Industries completed a reverse head and shoulders pattern, and Mosaic also broke above a short-term pattern, setting a new intermediate uptrend.
Wow, a lot going on. And what about we have a few more seconds. Let's talk a little bit about the Canadian dollar. Is it on the move again?
Yeah, Canadian dollar has been in a trading range right now. It's had that huge move, was up 10% from about the second quarter right through until most recent. So it seems to be in a kind of a trading range right now. On a seasonal basis, historically, the Canadian dollar has moved lower right through until about the second week in December.
And I think we touched that last week. So, cool. A lot to talk about. Always something going on. Looks like we got to pay attention to the Canadian dollar and China and, of course, palladium. Always having a good time with Don on these subjects every Saturday morning. Thank you, Don. We'll talk to you next week. Don Vialou from the Canadian Society of Technical Analysts and from equityclock.com and timingthemarket.ca. Thank you.
Welcome back, my good friend Henry Weingarten from the Astrologers Fund. Henry has been doing this probably around 50 years, and he's a managing director of the Astrologers Fund. He uses both fundamental, technical, and astro indicators to employ his analysis and projections, and always a pleasure having him on the show. Henry, thank you again for joining us on a Saturday morning.
Good. Thank you. Well, it's sort of an interesting time. Markets have stayed up more or less. And we're actually going to a favorable time. However, they're a bit expensive. So we have a rather mixed situation here. We're personally raising cash. We're raising cash more. We're happy to see gold over 1,300 more or less, and it's still quite undervalued. And we're happy to see oil up over 50, since next year we think it will be 55, 65 range. But as for the markets, they're a little bit like Bitcoin. They're a little bit ahead of themselves. Wouldn't short it, but there's enough risk that we just like to raise profits or book profits, which for the public could be writing calls or just selling some stock. Now, obviously, we're bullish in general because of the Trump effect. And on Friday, of course, you have record consumer confidence, which is deserved, well over the 100 number. And I think that's being reflected in the markets.
All right, so we're into the seasonal positive curves. Any chance that the cycles have inverted this year, or is it just
I don't know.
A lot stronger than?
It's hard to say because, there are reasons. We were bullish. I think the market's anticipating it. I think they were manipulated because there were some times it should have gone down. I'm a little uncomfortable because it's ahead of itself. So we're economic bears and we're economic bulls. But it's expensive, so you have to protect yourself, take profits when you can. and be very, I think, individual. Just holding and forgetting about everything is a bit dangerous. But on the other hand, we're bullish the next 2-3 years in terms of the global economy, at least in 2019. So take the odd.
What about the U.S. dollar? It's been showing a bottoming action. If you continue to feel that could happen, and what impact that would have on gold, assuming it does stay strong?
Gold's still undervalued. I don't really care. We don't have a strong view about this. It's very funny because I think the hedge funds have been playing around. So we're only playing what we have strong views on because we're safe with that. Everything else is a little bit too much risk for me to feel comfortable. So we're basically
one of the strong areas has been palladium. Have you tracked palladium into new highs today?
Basically many commodities are undervalued if you look at the fundamentals, such as copper, which is going to go to 350 plus next year. So it's hard to say. I think people are a little ahead of themselves. We still could have a correction before the end of the year. It's a little bit less likely since we got through this time where actually it's another 5 days we have to worry, and then who knows? We're just booking. I'd rather take stuff off the table, not go crazy, not short it, but I'd rather just book profits and not worry about it. It's a good year.
Henry, great call. I know you've been bullish, and the Trump effect certainly has been in there helping the markets. So we'll look forward to your comments next week. Henry Weingarten from the Astrologers Fund, and have a great weekend, Henry. Thank you again.
Same to you.
Thank you, Henry. And a little bit of a connection problem there, experiencing some technical problems. Well, we got Henry on the phone, and we had Don on the phone. And of course, we had Kyle on the phone this morning, so we're certainly doing our best to keep the input on the show. Sinclair will be joining us for segment 3 and hopefully segment 4 if he has time this Saturday morning. As you can see, a lot going on, and we mentioned a couple times, both with Henry and with Don, the breakout in palladium, which has not been given a lot of attention, but I've been talking about it for months on the show, and we are long via the ETF at vrtrader.com. So we're trying to stay on top of where the action is, whether it's at Bitcoin or palladium. Doesn't all have to be the Dow Industrials or the S&P. Always fun, though, folks. Do our best here at vrtrader.com and Wall Street Raw Radio. Don't touch your dial. We'll be back after the break.
Go to wallstreetrawradio.com for more information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
High-performance investors and traders use superior financial tools to achieve superior returns. You have that tool with Mark Leibovit, nationally renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at wallstreetraw.com. At wallstreetraw.com, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth and help you avoid the next big market crash. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to wallstreetraw.com and sign up for his free monthly Cannabis Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free monthly Gold News Raw report. Both are totally free. No credit card information is required. Sign up today for your free Cannabis Vice News Raw and Gold News Raw reports at wallstreetraw.com. That's wallstreetraw.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, customers, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-765-9681 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-765-9681. Again, that's 800-765-9681.
If you're a sleep apnea sufferer who's on the go to your phone and call right now to try the world's first portable mini CPAP device, absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights. It's the Transcend Mini CPAP, an engineering marvel that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. Its unique design is so small and so light, you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. No more dragging around a big, bulky CPAP. Even better, now you can try Transcend absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights by calling minicpap.com, 1-800-962-4276. Transcend is FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. You can also add a battery pack that's as tiny as a deck of cards. So now you can enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. But don't wait. To receive your 10-night in-home trial, call minicpap.com now. 1-800-962-4276. That's 1-800-962-4276. Heart disease is on the rise. Clogged arteries, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol levels may not be fully detected by you, but the symptoms are there. Loss of energy, blood sugar spikes and drops, poor circulation, and irregular heartbeat are just a few of these that can alert you that something is wrong. Hear how Heart and Body Extract is making a difference in thousands of people's lives across America.
My blood pressure has normalized. My diabetes has totally improved.
Everyone is telling me now how much healthier I look, and I'm telling everyone how much healthier I feel. I recommend Heart and Body Extract to everyone.
Anybody over 40 in the North American continent should be using this product as a preventative to keep their cardiovascular system healthy.
Order your 2-month supply today by calling 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. Or order online, hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract, 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com.
Anything that is thy neighbor.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw. Want to know more about Wall Street Raw and the Leibovit VR newsletters? Go to wallstreetrawradio.com.
Welcome back, my always very special guest and commentator, Sinclair No from KFNN 1510 Phoenix, and author of the incomparable blog, EatTheBankers.com. Sinclair, thank you again for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Mark.
So much to cover this week, Sinclair. So let's just start off with the most recent Federal Reserve story, where they released their minutes from their September 20th meeting. So
that's right.
They decided to begin quantitative tightening, QT.
Right. A little bit different term that we now all need to become familiar with. They're going to start selling off some of the treasuries and mortgage-backed securities that they hold on their balance sheet, which is roughly $4.5 trillion worth of balance sheet. They also, as we know, left interest rates unchanged. That was widely expected. And it is widely expected that the Fed will probably raise interest rates at their December meeting, which would make the third rate hike increase for 2017. And back around the beginning of the year, they were saying they anticipate raising rates 3 times in 2017. This will be the last move, more than likely, for Fed Chair Janet Yellen. Her term expires in February. She would like to get rates back to a more normalized setting. In other words, you want to have enough in the way of interest rates to where if there is a problem, if there is a recession, if there is a financial shock, the next Federal Reserve could use interest rates as a tool in their toolbox. They could lower rates to try and stimulate the economy. Here's the problem, though. And it's really not such a terrible problem, but inflation is still well below the Fed's target rate, 2%. They don't want to wait until inflation gets flying past 2%, so they'll probably raise rates before they ever get there. But the problem is they don't really know why inflation is so stubbornly low at this point. And so the minutes showed us that the Fed is kind of broken into 3 camps. Most of the Fed officials, the policymakers, they're planning on another rate hike this year, if everything remains basically the way it is now. The other camp says, no, we really need to look at more data. We're not quite as sure about this. We're not confident that we are seeing inflation. And then there are a few who are just saying, no, but hold off a little bit. We're not there yet. And sure enough, today, or Friday, we got the consumer price index. Thursday, we got the producer price index that measures prices at the wholesale level, consumer prices at the retail level. There was a big jump in the consumer price index in September, 0.5%. But it was basically all oil prices, and that was all related to the hurricanes and specifically the impact of Harvey on Houston, which is a big area for oil production and refining and so forth. You take out the energy, though, and they have what's known as the core rate. You strip out food and energy. That was just 0.1%. So we're really still not seeing any signs of inflation. The core rate stands at about 1.7%. Not much at all. That's not the rate that the Fed uses. They use something called the PCE. That's been closer to about 1.4%. So we're really not seeing the inflation that we would want. But the Fed will probably raise rates. Oh, another interesting thing about the consumer price index, wages went down. Hourly wages fell 0.1%. And wages are only up 0.7% over the past year. That's just weak wage growth. And when you factor in a little bit of inflation, it really means that wages are going down for most people. So that is not an inflationary environment at all. The Fed will probably raise rates again, and it's going to come at a time where the market is at a high. You're going to see rates moving a little bit higher, tapping the brakes on the economy. Things are starting to look a little wobbly out there in the markets, I'd say.
Well, it didn't affect the banking earnings reports this past week, Sinclair, as you know, except for Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or our favorite Wells Fargo, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, Citicorp all reported increased earnings, but Wells Fargo did suffer a little bit, so maybe it's well-deserved, huh?
Well, yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer bank. There was something kind of interesting as well when we got the reports from J.P. Morgan Chase and Citigroup. They beat on their profit expectations. They beat on revenue. Trading was a little bit of a problem. They weren't making as much money off of their trading. But here's something interesting. Both J.P. Morgan and Citi, and I think we'll see this as the rest of the banks continue to report, they boosted their reserves for consumer loan losses by the most in more than 4 years. Both lenders were setting aside money in the last quarter because they expected more write-offs for credit card lending to climb, and Citi said that it's already starting to happen. The increase is coming faster than it had anticipated. So watch out for that as well.
Our friend Jamie Dimon came out this past week. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks, and he said, I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin anymore after that fiasco where he had called it a fraud, and we found out that J.P. Morgan was, I don't know, not secretly, but quietly buying Bitcoins in Europe.
Yeah, well, he thought he could get away with it. Come on. Yeah, you can't just do that. He's got to report this stuff. It was reported, and it left him with a little bit of egg on his face. So he finally figured out, the best thing to do is just not say anything. At least it takes the spotlight off his hypocrisy.
Right. So we found out, just jump over to the Equifax story. So we found out that they've taken one of their customers' help website pages offline as they apparently reported and found another security breach going on. It just doesn't end, does it?
This is just unbelievable. I mean, you hear this story and you go, seriously? Seriously? We all know about the Equifax breach by now. Or I say we all know. Not everybody does. There are a lot of people who are still completely clueless about the Equifax breach. But it affected about 145 million people. Now, initially they said 143 million. Then they increased that to over 145 million. One of the things we're learning is that whenever we hear about one of these breaches, these hacks, anticipate that it's going to be worse than the initial reports.
Sinclair, we ran out of time. Let's pick up on this on the next segment. Sinclair Noah from KFNN 1510 Phoenix, and we'll touch on this right after the break. Thank you. Sinclair.
You're listening to Wall Street Raw with Mark Leibovit. Go to wallstreetrawradio.com for information on Mark's newsletters and products. Stay tuned. Mark will be right back.
I'm now convinced more than ever that we're just one major headline away from the next market crisis. Guess what? A new timeline report that I just read says that I happen to be right. Something big is getting ready to happen, just like it does at least once a decade over the last 100 years. An energy crisis in 79, an S&L crisis in 89, and the last two I warned you about, remember? The dot-com bust in 99 and the subprime crisis in 09. What's next? I want you to call for a free copy of Swiss America's new timeline report.
Thanks, Michael. Call toll-free 888-732-7164. That's 888-732-7164.
I've told you often, those who don't learn from history are destined to repeat it. Take action. It's no longer a question of if it's going to happen. It's just a question of when it's going to happen.
Call toll-free 888-732-7164. That's 888-732-7164.
Concur does what might seem impossible for your business. It makes employees happy and finance happy. How? Well, employees love automated expense reports and invoices they can submit and approve from anywhere. And finance loves that they have full visibility into employee spend. Plus, Concur integrates with leading finance systems. Concur makes the process better for everyone. Concur. Expense, travel, invoice. Learn more at concur.com.
In an emergency, you need a fire now. But what if the wood is wet? No problem for InstaFire. Our non-toxic fire starter packs lights wet wood, floats, and can even burn on water or in any weather. Sustains winds up to 30 miles per hour, and each pouch weighs only 1.75 ounces. Need an emergency or camp stove? Get the InstaFire Inferno stove that boils 20 ounces of water in under 3 minutes with controllable heat and temp from 425 to 1500 degrees. Free shipping. Go to InstaFire.com and use discount code Radio30 up to 3 times for 30% off your order. InstaFire. Fire in an instant.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon you'll need a plan and place to survive. Forget bunkers. You're not a live underground gopher. You need survivalist camps, the ultimate fully functional, off-the-grid mobile survival bug-out house that's well-equipped and custom-built to outlast any other RV or trailer. Bold statement? You bet. See them now at survivalistcamps.com. That's survivalistcamps.com. Trust your family's survival to survivalistcamps.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's mypillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
Hello, Mr. Anderson. The NSA has noticed how much time you spend on conservative news sites. We have no choice but to consider you a domestic terrorist.
Tired of your internet activity being monitored by Big Brother? Get VirtualShield.com, the world's easiest to use virtual private network. Browse the web anonymously, leaving pesky advertisers and spies in the dust. Get started today at VirtualShield.com. Take advantage of our free 30-day trial. VirtualShield.com. You have the right to remain private.
Responsibility begins and ends with our partners and our shareholders, and that's it.
There is no freedom without the law.
Get it? Got it? Good.
Welcome back to Wall Street Raw and the final segment with Mark Leibovit. Now, here's the elf himself.
Welcome back, Sinclair No from Campton in 1510 Phoenix, and author of the great blog EatTheBankers.com. Sorry I cut you off there a little bit, Sinclair, on the previous interview, but we ran out of time. So where were we?
We were talking about the Equifax hack and how a couple of things that we're seeing here, and I think that we're starting to develop a bit of a trend now where the initial report of a breach is minimized, then it's far worse than we ever realized, and then there are repeated attacks. Once an organization or an entity is recognized as being vulnerable, we saw that in the case of Equifax, they come back and do more. And that was the case this time. There was a reporter who was checking out the site, and he realized that there was some strange stuff going on. He recorded it. And basically what had happened is some attackers tricked visitors who were visiting Equifax. They would go in and they were trying to check to see if their credit was okay, and instead they were tricked into installing fraudulent updates that infected their computers with malware. So the people who were afraid their data had been stolen went to the site and ended up infecting their computers with malware, which could then come back to haunt both Equifax and the consumers down the road if it doesn't completely just wipe out their computer initially. Now, I also have to mention we're seeing a lot of cyber attacks. It wasn't just the Equifax that we heard about recently. It was Deloitte, the major accounting firm. And then the same pattern here. They had initially reported a cyber attack. Turns out it's much, much worse than they had initially reported. We also saw cyber attacks against Poland, cyber attacks against Australia for their defense. Defense contractor was hacked. North Korea was behind an NHS cyber attack. And there's a good chance that North Korea may have actually stolen military plans for the Korean Peninsula, U.S. and South Korean military plans. In the event of an attack, they know what the plan was. I'm sure it's been changed by now, but they know what the attack was. The GAO, General Accounting Office, is looking into a probe. They're probing an attack on the FCC. That happened after a debate on net neutrality. Sweden, Britain, the Equifax attack, SBU, on and on. And it's not just the institutions like that. It goes down to something like the Sonic drive-ins, the burger chains. They were hacked. On and on and on. I'm thinking we're at the point now where we're going to have to see some serious intervention in the Internet to ensure safety. And by that I mean we're going to have to start building in security into the Internet, which had not been truly built in before. There were attempts at security, patches were done. There was a real haphazard and random approach to security. Now we're going to have to start seeing a more serious bit of regulation take place. Otherwise, everything everybody has in the way of personal information and really vital information for organizations, including governments, is at risk. And the threat of a cyber attack that could really do some damage, for example, to the electric grid or to the military, we have to start taking that very seriously. We're going to have to see a major push toward regulation of security on the Internet.
I know we're grateful every day that we open our bank accounts on the Internet and the money is still in there, Sinclair, right?
Yeah, because, you change a 0 to a 1 to a 0, and everything disappears.
We had some fun this week with the... Sorry to change the subject on you. We had some fun this week about Amazon and Walmart coming head-to-head regarding pricing and stuff. We know that Walmart has its everyday low price guarantee, and so basically they called, I guess in competition with Amazon, they called their major suppliers some diapers to close, and they said if you don't knock 15% off, we're going to start making stuff ourselves. And this competition is really heating up between these two giants.
Well, these seem to be the final two remaining retail giants. These are the big two at this point, and they have very different approaches to market dominance. For Walmart, of course, there are Walmart stores all across the country, and Walmart has great sway with their suppliers, with their vendors. Amazon, meanwhile, is doing it in large part through logistics and through their web services. They're taking the high-tech approach. Walmart's trying to get into that. Walmart reported their earnings this past week, and they said that they expected U.S. online sales to jump about 40% in the next year. They're trying to fight back. We know that Amazon is trying to fight back. They bought the Whole Foods supermarkets. That gives them some more brick-and-mortar locations, which goes to their logistics. But, each brings their own particular skill set to this battle. Walmart, they're looking at the everyday low price guarantee. They're pushing their vendors to come up with these lower and lower prices, cut the wholesale prices 15%, or Walmart won't do business with you. At the same time, you go to Amazon. Amazon beats Walmart every day on its low price guarantee. They're operating in parallel universes almost to try to win. But here's something that we saw from the Walmart earnings report. At the same time, they're saying they're going to invest all this money in online. One of the things they did was they announced a $20 billion stock buyback. To me, $20 billion stock buyback means that they don't know what the next big innovation is. They're not ready to invest in their own business. They'll buy back the stock, try and jack up the earnings per share. There's a little bit of financial engineering that goes on to make the profits look bigger than they really are. Whereas Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he will invest every dollar back into Amazon. He doesn't care whether the profits look good. He's going to build up that company no matter what. And that's how he's been doing it. And that's why Amazon is actually bigger than Walmart now as far as market capitalization is concerned. Either way, this is the battle in retail that we're going to be seeing, and all the other players in retail are playing catch-up, or they're just waiting to be squashed.
Meanwhile, their stock prices are both doing great, Walmart and Amazon. Sinclair, thank you so much for joining us. Sinclair No from KFN in 1510 Phoenix, and author of the great blog, EatTheBankers.com. Speak to you next Saturday, Sinclair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Sinclair. And we have about 60 seconds here or so. So let's look at some of the big point movers this past week. Names that you may not all be familiar with: ANAB, AnaptysBio, ANAPTYSBIO is up 34 points to 69.55. Texas Pacific Land, TPL, up 20 points to 425. Chipotle bounced back this past week. That's CMG up 18.8 points to 326. Bio-Rad Laboratories, that's BIO.B, net change up 17 points to 228. Everest Group, it's RE, up 15.5 points to 240. A lot of high-priced names here. Cable One, CABO, 14.5 points to 758. Amazon crossed over 1,000 during the week. I think up to 106, 107 on Friday, but it was up 13.5 points to 1,002 on Friday. NVIDIA, of course, that's been hot for months. That was up 13.25. That's NVDA up to 195. BlackRock, the ETF group, that's BLK, up 12.25 points to 475. Google jumped 10, almost 11 points, 10.79 this week's at GOOG, up to 990. Allegiant Travel, ALGT, up 8.5 to 140, and Aerie Pharmaceuticals, AERI, up 880 to 61.45. Oh, we don't want to forget about Walmart, which bounced back a little bit too, up 760. WMT has become, that's 86.62. That became hot. As you know, there's a little discussion between, or conflict between Walmart and Amazon this week. You know, their competition is really heating up. So really interesting what's going on between those two companies. Meanwhile, as we do each week, we close our show with what our old friend Ed Hart used to say on the Financial News Network.
Renowned top market timer, legendary television Wall Street Week elf, and nightly business report market monitor, who shares with you his unique market tools and commentary at wallstreetraw.com. Here, Mark provides you with his latest ideas on how to help build and protect your wealth and help you avoid the next big market tsunami. Mark has a special free gift for listeners of his Wall Street Raw radio show. Go to wallstreetraw.com and sign up for his free monthly Cannabis Vice News Raw report. While there, go ahead and sign up for his free monthly Gold News Raw report. Both are totally free. No credit card information is required, and no one will call. Sign up today for your free Cannabis Vice News Raw report and Gold News Raw report at wallstreetraw.com.
Actual testimonials from real Numana customers.
I've tried all kinds of food storage, and Numana is by far the best.
I'm a single mom with 2 teenage boys and a full-time job. I don't always have time to cook a 4-course meal. That's where Numana has been such a blessing. I can spend less time in the kitchen and more time on what matters most, like helping with homework.
Find out for yourself. Order online at thepowermall.com. That's thepowermall.com. Numana is...
The stores I love to eat. Yum!
Thepowermall.com.
With nearly 70 years of history engineering bunkers, today, Atlas Survival Shelters is still the authority. Atlas offers 18 different choices, from commercial tornado shelters to underground nuclear fallout shelters, starting at just $99.99 with 100% financing available. Comfortable interiors and state-of-the-art air filtration systems. Atlas Survival Shelters are the most popular private survival shelters in the world. Call 1-855-4-BUNKER now or visit atlassurvivalshelters.com.